Someone You Should Know. A program about people you know and even more that you don't. Hosted by Stuart Sachs, veteran, husband, father, and grandfather. Now, here's your host, Stuart Sachs.
Well, good morning and welcome to another edition of Someone You Should Know from right here at KVGI Radio, live without limits in Frisco, Texas. Well, folks, I know that you've probably heard names like Alexander the Great, and you've heard of Cedric the Entertainer and all. Well, right here in the studio with me is someone that everybody in North Texas knows. It's Myron, the garage door guy.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Welcome to the show, Myron.
Thank you, sir.
I right away I said to him this morning, I said, everywhere I looked all over the information and all to see a last name for you, and there's nowhere that says that identifies you as anything other than Myron,
right,
the garage door guy. And I know that you are a household name in my neighborhood.
Yes.
Because whenever anybody gets your service, they post it on Nextdoor. They tell everybody, they tell their neighbors, their friends, their relatives, and if anybody has, they just say, they call you up and they say, "Hey, what was that garage door guy's name?" Oh, that's Myron the garage door guy. Right. In fact, if anybody wants to contact you, it's Myron,
correct,
the garage door guy at yahoo.com.
Yes, indeed.
Well, I don't, I'm not hiding anything. Myron knows absolutely everything there is to know about garage doors.
Almost. There's a couple of things I'm still working on.
Still working on?
Working on.
Well, I would imagine that as the years go by, they keep the technology.
Yes.
I remember the old days of having the solid door that you had to lift.
Yes.
That you had to work out even just to open your garage door.
I still got a scar across my shoulder blade from that as a kid messing with the garage door. It almost cut my shoulder blade off.
Really?
Yes.
And they were wood.
Yes.
Too. So they were heavy. Then they went into aluminum doors.
Right.
But it was a while. It was a decade or so later that they started doing them in panels.
Correct.
And then when did like the Genie systems and all of that come out to do it automatically?
So I believe it was like in the early 70s, if I'm not mistaken. Overhead was one of the bigger companies that came out, and so Overhead's been in the game for, I don't even know how many years. I know it's well over 50 years.
Yeah.
So then Chamberlain kind of got into the game. Chamberlain owns Chamberlain LiftMaster and Sears Craftsman, Access Master, and a couple other brands that's under their label. Genie makes a lot of openers for Overhead and other companies. So when you start saying Overhead openers, it's basically made by Genie, and they just put their labels on it. So from there, they started going with the garage door sensors at the bottom of the garage doors because some of the little kids were getting crushed. So they had to come up with some type of system where you got the auto reverse. And then from there, it just kept growing.
Yeah, our system has a little electric light on
Correct.
it, so that if I have on occasion hit the garage door closure button inside the garage, and then you hurry up and you run
and jump over it.
But you got to jump over the light, because if you hit the light, it's going to reverse, and you got to go back and do it again.
I kind of perfected that. I have to jump over the sensors and run out the gate sometimes to make sure it's closed up for the homeowners before I leave, so they laugh at me.
Well, I would assume that that's one of the upsides to your business, is that you can really customize the
Correct.
System for the people. If it's obviously senior citizens like myself, you want to have an opportunity to make sure that garage door is not going to malfunction while they're out there.
Correct.
Do you do complete installations?
Yes.
Right from the get-go. So if somebody says, you know what, I want to get rid of my old garage door and I want a new system or whatever, they can contact you, and then what? Do you have the connections with some of the suppliers?
Yes. I have like about 8 different suppliers from the Colony all the way to Fort Worth, so it depends on what you're looking for and what area I'm in.
Okay.
I'm staying away from the wood doors because I don't know if you see that scar. I almost cut this finger off about a year ago working on a wood door in McKinney, so my finger got stuck in the door and the rollers go across, so I said I'm going to leave the wood doors alone.
And I would assume that most of the builders, the new builders and everything, are all using the paneled metal doors anyway.
It
really?
depends on the builder, because some of the builders are using like the wood and wood overlay doors. And my opinion on why they're doing it is because they can have pretty much full access to the recalls and repairs. Because if, let's say, you bump that garage door, I don't have a clue where the builder got that wood door from. So you pretty much have to call overhead back, or you'll have to call the builder back. So
Okay.
it just seems like they're kind of catering stuff to pretty much to secure their financial future, which I understand. So
And if somebody has an old home with an existing door that's either a pull up or and they want to add the ability to do it remotely and all, no problem.
yeah,
It can be
usually
done?
in this area it's not really a problem because you have enough headroom. But when you start getting in Dallas and Garland and some of the older areas, you really don't have a lot of headroom. So I've been in situations where it wasn't even possible to add a garage door opener. But I would say the North Dallas, North Allen, Frisco, Plain, all those areas pretty much are set up for garage door openers without an issue.
Did you start in the? I was reading through some of the information, and you said you fell into the garage door
Yes.
industry because you showed up for a different job,
Look,
and they weren't there. This is a great story.
It's so funny because it happened in 1996. I had just got married, and I was trying to find another factory job in Detroit, Michigan. So I was in the suburban area of Livonia, Michigan. And, back then we didn't have
I know
GPS.
where Livonia is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we had to do the MapQuest. So you had the MapQuest, and I didn't have a cell phone and stuff back then. So I got stopped by this train, so I was running late. So I'm riding around the circles trying to find this factory, and I can't find this factory. So I stopped and asked for directions. And this older lady at the front, I said, I can't find this building. I'm late for the interview. Can I borrow your office phone to call the warehouse? And she was like, sure. I called the phone number after an hour drive to get to this factory, and the phone's disconnected. So I'm sitting there looking like I just wasted all this gas. I'm already been laid off for like 90 days, and it's a waste of time. So the lady Sue was like, there's a garage door company around the corner hiring. Tell them Sue sent you. And I'm thinking like, okay, I don't even know you, so I'm going to walk into a strange building and just tell them Sue sent you, and that's going to solve the problem. So me and my best friend, Roncell Maxwell, were together. We both filled out the application, but he got the job. So I said, okay, at least one of us got the job. Well, you had to run a background check on your driver's license. He had just got a ticket the day before. So that officer must have put it right into the system, and he had points on his license. Well, I ran mine, and my driver's record was clear, so I ended up getting a job. So I actually worked from there from June of 96 until November of 98. And then after that, I got into the General Motors plant directly across the street from there, and I worked there, and I've been doing both since.
All right, so are you still exclusively doing the garage door, or are you still working?
I'm
with
still
GM?
working both. Yeah, I'm still working both.
Yeah, and that amazes me because, and I've got a list of people that chimed in when I posted this on Nextdoor that know Myron, and the comments are always the same. He is efficient. He shows up when he says he's going to be there. He's fairly priced. And just the nicest guy. And I'm sure that there's people that are listening to this show right now that are nodding their heads. And that's how I found you when we had a spring that didn't work or needed to be adjusted. And every time we'd hit the garage door opener, it would just shudder, and sometimes it would open, and finally it got to the point where it didn't.
Correct.
Like it wouldn't open and it wouldn't close. It was about halfway.
Right.
And so I went on Nextdoor. And I said, help, I can't get out of my garage, and I need to go someplace. I can't get out. It doesn't do it manually or somebody wrote back, call this number, Myron the garage door guy. And I remember I was blown away because I've been in business my whole life. And he said, where are you? Gave him the address. I'm 20 minutes away. I thought, yeah, okay, fine. Because when somebody's going to deliver a piece of furniture, they say, we'll give you a 4-hour window.
Right.
It means you got to sit around for 4 hours. Doggone it, if you weren't there in 15 minutes, you walked in, you analyzed what was wrong, you took care of it efficiently, quickly, and I became a fan.
Right.
And I shared your name, and I mean, you don't really do much advertising, do you?
I really don't, because it's with my two jobs, I really can't take on way more than I can handle. My son did move here 2 years ago to help me with the business. He does a lot of the service. So a lot of the interviews, the reviews that you see, a lot of times he's the one that's actually covering most of the jobs, because it's gotten to the point where with my other job, people are calling me from Mansfield, Midlothian, Grand Prairie, So I'm kind of like all over the place, and then we'll grab sections and then meet back up in the middle, and then I'm training another guy too. As far as the efficiency, I think it comes back from my training. I work the company that I work for. The guy was just at the time I thought he was crazy, but now I think he was just really drilling me to be what he wanted me to be. And he was like one of the older guys, older Polish guy, first generation, and everything just had to be, this is the way I told you to do it,
Right.
and don't go back on recalls. I think that really made a mark on me. Just like, look, when I go there, I want to make sure it's done right the first time. I don't like going back again because it looks bad on me. And I think he just drilled that into me. And I think also with my father was always just like, your word is your bond. If you give a price, stick to it. And it was just like a lot of that training and stuff. And I think it just stuck with me.
And that's what's missing in business, but I think that it's still alive in independent businesses.
I think it's coming
when
back.
when it's your name on the business and all, you either are good and stay to your principles,
Correct.
and share those with your customers, or you go out of business
Real quick.
because if you promise the world to people and you don't deliver it, they're not going to call you back, and they're also not going to refer you.
That's it.
And referral business
It's
is worth everything.
It's everything.
It's low cost and I didn't realize, but you cover a broad area. I thought you were basically just around, Collin and Denton County and all. You
like the other day, I got off work, so that was in Arlington. I went from Arlington to Mansfield to Fort Worth to Plano. Then I left Plano. I was in McKinney, and then I was in Aubrey, and then back to Frisco. So during that time, my son was from Denton to Little M, Frisco, Colony, and then we met up back in the middle. I bought a vert van in December of 2017, and I have 99,850 miles on it already.
Wow.
So I do a lot of driving, but I love to drive, and I love what I do. So sometimes it's kind of irritating with some customers, but overall, I really like what I do.
Well, but you have your phone with you, and when in fact just before the show went on,
Yes.
somebody called and they needed you, and you said, "Well, I'm going into this interview show, but I'll be available right out afterwards, and I can be there by noon."
Right.
So that's why I say that's almost an exclusive comment that most of these people say is, if he tells you he's going to be there either at that time or early.
Now, one of the biggest problems that I'm having now is with the growth that's so fast. I try to tell people up front, if I forget to call you, please call me back to remind me, because sometimes I might be on a ladder. I might run into some electrical problems. And if I don't have my watch connected to the text messages or whatever, I don't see it. And I'm trying to work better on that. But majority of the time, if I say I'm going to be there, I'm going to really try to be there. I'm going to do everything I can. But I'm working on some things right now to try to solve that problem, too, so I don't miss phone calls and voicemails. And it's funny because people always ask me, when do you sleep? And I tell them it's calculated. I can't tell you the routine.
Yeah,
it's a competition.
It's called my lunch hour at work.
Right.
I take a cat nap then. But so you actually moved from Michigan down to
Correct.
here about the same time we did, about 2013.
Correct, June of 13. Originally, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, and the economy had went bad, so I transferred from Michigan to Ohio with my other job. I stayed there 3.5 years, and I said, I'm sick of this cold weather. They can have this. Bones were aching and everything. So I moved here in June of 13, and it's funny how things work out because we were looking more towards the Arlington area, closer to my job. But there were so many people moving to Dallas at the time we couldn't find anything, so we gravitated to Little M. And I just think it was the best fit for us. It was like my kids graduate. 2 of my daughters graduated from Little M High School. A lot of my best friends and stuff are here because we didn't have any family. So Little M and Frisco has really stepped up and treated me like I've been here for years, and I think that's the part that amazed me, and I love it.
Yeah, we moved here from the Midwest. We spent some time in Florida, but our son was transferred with his corporation to headquarters here in Dallas, and he moved to Frisco. And so we came up, and Frisco is just this nice little town in 2013, 75,000 people. That's great. Now 7 years later, it's over 200,000.
And growing.
Oh, yeah, and growing between here and Prosper and North. So you're servicing all of those areas also, too?
Correct. The highest pretty much I go up to now, I'm trying to cut it off at Gunter. I've been getting calls to Gainesville and all those other areas now. It's funny because people in Frisco have family everywhere, and they'll put a review on their post, and you'll get calls from anywhere. So what I'm doing is I'm answering the calls, and I'm like, okay, so where are you located? And I have to ask people where the location is because I'm getting people from Houston asking me to come there, and I'm like, I don't go to Houston. I don't go to Arkansas. I don't go to Oklahoma. But it's just funny, the cost that
now
you
you
get.
don't.
No.
You know.
Now, if you catch me on vacation, I will do a road trip there. It's a tax write-off.
And that's a whole nother subject,
That's a whole
too.
nother story.
We'll talk about that, too. Have you ever run into a situation when you've been on a road trip or something that somebody has had an issue with a garage door?
Every time I go back home, everybody's like, do you have your tubes?
Oh,
I'm sorry, I don't.
Myron's coming, yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't travel with my tube belt. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Are you driving your van?
I laugh at that part.
That's fine. Now, there is one thing that I want to share with our listeners too, is that you taught me a little bit about maintenance.
Yes.
Of the garage doors,
Yes.
especially these at least a 2-car garage door, which
Correct.
can be heavy, and by doing a little bit of maintenance,
Yes.
of oiling the track and all, you can add some extra life to that door.
And yes, that's the biggest thing in Texas. It gets so hot here, and then we have a lot of dirt and dust floating around from the new construction. So the biggest thing is just keeping it lubricated. And a lot of people want to know, how do I do tune-ups? But if you go to my Myron the Garage Door Guy Facebook page, I do a lot of FYI videos on there, and garage door lubrication is one of the videos that I post on there. And people ask me, why would you give away that free information? I'm like, it's not a secret. It's on YouTube anyway. And I figure a lot of times I might be in an area where I can't get to you right away. So if you can check on the Facebook page and you can figure out how to fix it, that's no problem. And I had one customer, I called him back because I was on a ladder. And I said, I was calling you back. He was, oh, I don't need you anymore. He said, but I appreciate it. I said, no problem. He said, well, you don't want to know how I fixed the door. And I said, well, how? He said, well, you helped me. I went on your video and I fixed it myself. And I just started laughing. I said, well, that's what it's kind of meant to do.
Yeah, and I learned. I said, well, what do you just do? Just spray WD-40? And you said, no. There's a different and a better product.
Yes.
And what is that? The oil that you recommend?
Yeah, one of the sprays that I use is National 400, and you can get it on for Amazon. But Home Depot and Lowe's actually have garage door sprays. You want to use more of that to keep it lubricated and stuff like that. I go to a lot of houses where they just cake the whole track up with grease. You don't want grease in the tracks at all because it makes the door slide instead of roll. And
well,
that's
that
why
also will attract
harden
more
up.
of that dust
Yes.
and dirt.
Correct. So that's one of the biggest things. Besides that, just basic tightening the bolts, just doing like a visual inspection like once a year, just making sure the nuts and bolts and stuff, that's stuff that I teach the customers how to do themselves. And now I'm working with what is it called? Google Duo. I'm asking customers to download the Google Duo app, even if you just need it for that one time. And they can physically call me on Google Duo, and then I can actually see what they're saying, almost like a FaceTime. And I've been helping people if I'm at my other job and I can't get loose. I can actually see what they're saying. And if it's something I feel like it's safe for them to fix, I'll walk them through it. Like I have customers that called me at 4 o'clock in the morning and I was up, but I couldn't get to them. And they called me on Google Duo, and I showed them how to get the door up so they can get the cars out. So just different situations like that.
And you mentioned earlier that the fact that we have everything from, like this morning, it was in the 20s.
Yes.
And it'll go in by August, we're at 105 every day for like a month. You have to be aware of that because the garage door will act differently in the extreme cold temperatures
Correct.
than it will in the heat.
Correct.
And if the garage if your garage is not air conditioned or heated,
yes,
then it's going to get just as warm or cold.
And there's a lot of little tricks that I put on my page. I'm trying to do better to add more videos, but with my schedule, I have a younger daughter that's about to go to school for video and film and stuff like that. So I'll be kind of bringing her in on some stuff so she can help me on that. But there's a lot of little tricks that I try to help people to show them how to not have a service call. And even doing that, some people still get mad because you're honest about stuff. And it's like I said with John Nowak, it was just pretty much like, just tell the truth. It's easy to remember. And that was his thing all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm just one of those type of people. I just don't want to lie to you. I try to be honest up front. I try to tell you exactly. It's sometimes that I have to turn down a job because I feel like you're not listening to what I'm telling you, and I know it's not going to last, so I'd rather not attach my name to it. Like there's certain brand openers that I just won't install because I know it's not going to last. And I had a customer the other day. I'm like, well, you have a wood door. If you put this brand opener on there, the gears are going to actually snap, and then it's not going to be under warranty. So I'd rather not install.
And you're going to blame me.
And because that 6 months go by and they get amnesia. So
right.
You never told me that. So I just rather not touch it at all. So there is a lot of jobs that I do turn down.
That's folks. That's what Myron is all about. As I say, if and now with this option of FaceTime or Google Duo to be able to say, all right, can you put your phone up there and let me see?
Yes.
Because I know in my case, I have no idea what they're called.
Right.
The tension springs.
Yes.
And in the double garage door, there's two, one on each side.
Correct.
Well, if either one of them starts to fail or weaken, it will affect the other side.
Correct.
And also they have to be adjusted. And honestly, it's something that can take as little as a half an hour or less to do. But, you don't want to be a Mr. Fix-It unless you know what you're doing.
We had I'm not going to mention the young lady's name, but she was in Frisco. We had a situation last week where the door cocked, and she came from a family where she was used to fixing things herself. We've always done work for her in the past where she took the bottom bracket loose where the cables are attached that the spring has the tension on, and she took that bottom bracket off, and it shot past her, and it caught her in the forehead and split her forehead open where she had to get stitches and staples. So this is one of the main things that I tell everybody, just be careful. I had another young man in Frisco Lakes where the door was messed up, and he decided to take the bottom bracket off, and it sliced across his wrist, and he was bleeding. And I just see so many people getting hurt, even actually garage door installers or handyman. We had a situation in Fort Worth last year where the guy, I guess he didn't wind the springs right, and the bar came out, and it went across his forehead, split his forehead, broke the bone right by his eye, and knocked out the teeth, so now he's partially blind. So it's just things that you try to be careful on. I've been doing it since '96, and I'm still cautious every time I go up there. I don't want to jump up there and think, oh, I got this, because that one time. You were
just talking about your index finger.
And I did every precaution possible. I vice gripped everything down, and that door just won. Thankfully, it didn't sever the finger. I had a little nerve damage in it, but when people call me for wood doors and I tell them why, some people still get mad. I'm like, look, I like my fingers where they are. So I'll refer them to somebody that actually specializes. I have a friend that does those all day, every day for the builder. And I'm just like, look, I'd rather give it to him. I trust him. I know he knows what he's doing. He does 7 of them per day. So it's like, it's second nature to him. So.
You mentioned earlier some brand names.
Yes.
And if somebody is having some difficulties with their door, they're listening to the show, and they say, I think, my house is 20, 25 years old or whatever, and I probably need a new garage door opener. Are there some brands that you prefer and would recommend?
The brands that I prefer, LiftMaster, Chamberlain, Sears Craftsman. Sears Craftsman just recently got bought out, the opener brand, to Lowe's, so you can pick those up at Lowe's now.
Is it still under the Sears name?
It's still under the Sears name. Okay. Those are the brands that I prefer. Typically, you don't have a lot of issues. We did go through a spell where they had a quality issue, and I've been on the phone with them kind of complaining because I'm like, I don't want to back your product, and then I have to go back 3 or 4 times. This is the reason why I use your product. So they've been escalating the quality and stuff like that, and they've been calling me back and forth to see if we can do anything, because we had an issue last week. We had a brand new one that was 6 months old, and we had to replace the circuit board 3 times and 2 travel modulars. And I'm like, that's falling back on me, especially with some of these higher end homes and gated, and they're looking like, well, what kind of problems are we having? So besides that, you really don't have a lot of issues with the Chamberlain brand. So that's the brand that I usually stick with.
All right. We have not only the button on inside the garage and all, but a keypad on the outside and all. And if people don't have that outdoor keypad and all, that's something that can be added to an overhead system.
Yeah, as long as it's not linear. Linear, and I think it's Marantech is one of those brands where I don't think it's compatible with, and you'll have to go with those brands to get the keypad. But majority of the other ones is universal too.
Well, the best thing to do if you have questions and all is to call 972-750-0130.
Correct.
Or send a note, an email or so to Myron, the garage door guy, myron@yahoo.com.
Correct.
And your website is?
I'm still working on the website right now,
Okay.
so I'm using the Myron the Garage Door Guy Facebook page.
Okay.
And basically text messaging. That's one of the easiest ways to get to me. And like I said, next week, hopefully I have something else that'll be set up, and you'll see what's going on with that. I'm working on a couple
And I
of
will
things.
tell you from personal experience, folks, that if you call Myron and all, it's not like calling a roofer who, if you say, I think I need somebody to inspect a roofer, because honestly, because we live in a town or in an
Yes.
area where they don't have to be licensed and bonded,
Man.
and all. If they go up on your roof, they're going to find something wrong.
And even
And
if
tell
they
you-
take their hammer and make a dent.
That's right. And Myron will come out, and if it's a quick fix, he'll take care of it. If it's something that needs more, he's going to give you a fair price, and he's going to tell you. And believe me, if you want to go comparative shopping, you can, because I think
I don't
you
have
would
a problem
probably
with
even
that.
urge people, if you need a new garage door, opener system and everything, do the math. Go out there, call 3 different companies,
Yes.
but make sure that one of the companies that you call is Myron the Garage Door Guy.
Thank you.
Because I think you'll be very, very pleased. We have to pause for a commercial break.
Okay.
We will be back in just a few minutes,
All right.
and all with Myron, the Garage Door Guy, who is someone you should know.
3, 2, 1. KVGIRadio.com.
Y'all have really just opened my bubble and just.
KVGI Radio brings you conversation and entertainment. Be sure to follow us on social media. Who streams the best talk shows? We do.
You're listening to KVGIRadio.com. Streaming live from the KVGI studios in Frisco, Texas. Live without limits.
Someone You Should Know. A program about people you know and even more that you don't. Hosted by Stuart Sachs, veteran, husband, father, and grandfather. Now, here's your host, Stuart Sachs.
And we are back live and without limits here in our studios at KVGI Radio in Frisco. And we are talking with Myron Williams, who is Myron the Garage Door Guy. Originally from Detroit, and now a transplant here in Florida. Before we get back into our conversation, I do want to share a little bit of information. We are brought to you in part by Be the Difference Foundation that helps women with ovarian cancer right here in the Dallas Metroplex area. This weekend, actually on Sunday, is their big fundraiser. It's called Wheel to Survive. And for those of you that like spinning and want to participate, there's still time. It's going to be held this Sunday from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. at Gilley's Southside Music Hall down on Lamar Street. It's a great cause. You can either join an existing team, you can ride on your own, you can ride for the entire 7 hours if you want, or you can just go down and do it for a while. You can go online to wheel2survive.org, and I urge you, if you can make a small donation to help these women who have been diagnosed with ovarian cancer to get to their trials and all. It's a wonderful organization that Lauren and I have been involved in for a few years. And KVGI Radio is one of their sponsors. Okay. So we thank KVGI, and we thank all of those fine people. John Mize, who is the executive director. John and these people are great. So go online, wheel2survive.org, and if you can help out, greatly appreciated. We're back with Myron, and I know that in looking over some of the information, you are involved with some nonprofit organizations as well. Share some of that information if you'd like.
I do a lot of different things. A lot of times I just get different requests, but one of the bigger ones that I work with is Courtney Taylor, Courtney Claus's Enterprises in Dallas. She does a lot of things. She does a lot of food banks, food drives. They have a mentoring program. So if you look at my Myron the Garage Door Facebook page, you'll see some of the stuff that we did for Christmas with young men without fathers. We bought them like dress clothes and stuff like that, showed them how to tie ties, just different stuff like that. Had motivational speakers, so that's pretty good. I'm praying for her right now. She just lost her grandmother, but typically we do an outing once a month. So last month was supposed to be the Cowboys of Color. Then this month was supposed to be the Harlem Globetrotters. So every month we try to find something to get them together, the young men, and just go out. So it's pretty cool. So you'll start seeing program. A lot of that this year on my page.
Great program. It's called Paying It Forward,
yes.
folks. And you know that it and I urge you to do that. Find things that you're interested in and support them.
Yes.
Switch gears just a little bit. Number one, for those that are listening on the radio or your mobile app, you don't see Myron. But for those that are following us via Facebook and also via YouTube now, you can see this fine young gentleman is sitting here with a Corvette hat and a Corvette jacket.
And a T-shirt.
Because, he's got the T-shirt on too. He is obviously a lover of Corvettes. Yes. And it's something that we have in common. I had a 2002 Corvette for several years.
Yes.
It was my sister's, and passed it along to me. I had it for a few years until I got too old to get in and out of it. But it's like in a category of its own. Now, you like to travel. That's another thing we share in common.
Yes.
We don't like flying
anywhere
or getting on the bus. Put me behind the wheel of my car and just let me go.
Some open road, I'm gone. Give me a weekend. I was supposed to be gone this weekend, but when you called me for this, I'm like, I'm doing this for Stuart. We were supposed to go from here to Lake Charles to Alabama to Florida, and then back. Anytime I get time off, I jump behind the wheel, and it's a stress reliever for me. Probably because my dad's the truck driver. Maybe that's why.
and how often do you have the opportunity to get away?
Lately, not as much. Usually about 3 times a year. Like this December, I got away. I got away for my anniversary because If I don't, I'll be divorced. We went to what was that? Omaha, Nebraska, for Memorial Day weekend. We were trying to get up to the North and South Dakotas, but the weather they had tornadoes touching down, so we stopped at Omaha. And I just try to get away any chance I get.
And now with your son coming into the business, that might afford you a little bit of an opportunity to get away with your wife,
right?
And also he can cover, and then you can cover when he wants to.
Correct.
To get away. How old is your son?
My son's 28, and my daughter-in-law, and I have a grandson that's 2 years old. You can see him on some of the Facebook page.
Oh, well, of course.
He was 7 months old, and he started walking. You can see him walking back and forth with a little wrench in his hand, like he's calling orders out.
Train him young. When you get to be 16, Grandpa's going to buy you a van full of tools, and you can go out and fix garage doors with him.
And then I have a granddaughter that's 6 months old. Besides that, I have 3 daughters, and they are 25, 22, and 20. So
wow. And are they all in this area?
Yes, everybody's local.
Oh,
yes.
Wonderful. That's a big bonus.
Yes.
To still have everybody together. Now, and when we say that you like to road travel, we're not just talking from here to Fort Worth or from here to Shreveport, Louisiana.
I drive.
I mean, we're talking coast to coast.
I drive. I've went from Michigan to Florida every summer. Every time we had a week or two off in July. We were talking about before the show. I took 8 kids to Florida from Michigan to Florida, and I don't know what I was thinking.
Talk about a nightmare.
Can you imagine a 15-passenger van from the ages of 11 to 19? That was an experience.
Would you do it again?
No.
No. Wait till they're all 16. Let them all get their own cars, and
I'll meet them there. No.
Now, when you travel, do you usually travel with the family?
Now that the kids and stuff are getting older, I think I burnt them out on the road trips. They just want to fly everywhere. So me and the wife is just pretty much just jump in the car and go.
So you can get in the Corvette and do it.
I had to trade the Corvette in because my pickup truck died, so I had to get a new work van. But I'm working on that one.
You're working on
I'm working on that now.
There's a great difference between a Corvette and a work van.
Yes, it is. I have did service calls out the Corvette.
So you have?
I did.
But now the area again that you will cover is basically all of North Texas.
It's pretty broad. It just depends on the availability. Like if it's North Dallas and stuff, I can pretty much handle that anytime. But if you start talking about Fort Worth, Red Oak, I'm trying to basically do those early in the mornings and then work my way back to Frisco, so I'll be closer to home base.
That makes sense.
And more and more on the weekends, I'm trying to do more Saturdays. I'm trying to take Sundays off to get back in church, but sometimes like Sunday mornings is like one of the busiest times. People go out Saturday and they hit the door Saturday night, and then Sunday morning my phone's ringing like crazy.
Well, that's right, because they have to have everything in working order for the week.
Right. So
it's amazing. And a question that somebody had texted in, they want to know: do you work by the job or do you work by the hour?
I just charge a flat rate, so it depends on what it is. And some people say, well, how did you come up with the formula? Most of my prices have been the same almost since '98. Little fluctuation for like cost of like the liability insurance and stuff increases. I don't charge extra for coming out on holidays. If it's $100 on Monday, it's $100 on Christmas Eve if I'm available. So that's just the way I just balance it out. It covers the liability, the insurances, and stuff like that. So that's how I try to keep it.
And obviously, if it was by the hour, then
I'll be
very
rich.
often, yeah. Well, but also that cuts into your time and also the customer's time, because I have found that if a plumber, say, comes out and he's working by the hour, he doesn't want to get the job done in an hour. If he can make it into a 2 or 3 hour job, it's to his benefit.
Right.
But again, I only have, I can only talk from personal experience and also the recommendations that you get via Nextdoor and all the other social media. They just say he gets out there, he analyzes what needs to be done. He says, I'll have this finished in 20 minutes or an hour, whatever, and he's out of there.
Because usually I have like a small window. I try to wrap up everything within 6 to 8 hours. Lately, I've been doing 12 hours and then 8 hours. So I've been up 19, 20 hours, and it sounds crazy, but I've been getting calls all the way into 11:30 at night, and I try not to go out that late, but sometimes it just depends on the situation. If it's dire, if it's about to fall on top of the car, if it's available, so it just depends on the situation. So
now, if it is an installation, that can take what, a day?
It depends. Like on an opener, most garage door openers, if we don't run into any electrical problems and stuff, we can get it done in about an hour and a half per opener. Most doors take us about 2 to 3 hours right now. We've done some jobs where it's like 2 or 3 doors and they're 8 feet tall, they're full glass. So stuff like that you don't want to rush through, because some of those doors, we had a job in Midlothian. The builder told him $30,000 just for the glass doors only, because they're full view, and we were able to get it down to like $9,000, but
from 30.
But it took 5 guys. So me and the other guys that they specialize in that, I picked it up because I wanted to make sure there was no incidences with the glass, and then we just all teamed up together, and it's just a great group of guys that I've met since here. They just did the big what do you call it, the clubhouse at the one in Frisco. I can't think of the name off of the top of my head, but we did that one in July. It's the other one off of Rock Hill, Lakes of. I can't think of the name. It'll come back. But it was like 9 full view garage doors, so they needed a hand, so I went over and helped them. So we just kind of all stick together, and I like that here.
Yeah. It's what is probably the number one problem that you find with existing doors? Is it those tension springs? Most
of the times it's the original springs. Like usually the springs last about 8 to 10 years. With the lack of lubrication, and they're set up on cycle life. So as the door goes up and down, you just figure if it's a 10,000 cycle life spring, you subtract every time the door goes up or down, and it gives you a life expectancy. Some of the problems that I've been noticing since I've been here, the builder will put a single spring on some of the doors, and it'll last 8 to 10 to 12 years, which is good. But when the garage door guys come behind, they'll convince the customer, hey, get a 2-spring system, and it'll balance out the door, which is partially true. It depends on what spring that you put on there. They're putting 2 springs on there, but they're putting a cheaper spring on there, and those springs are breaking between 2 and 3 years. So then you have to keep changing the springs every 3 years. So when I started here, I was like, man, it's got to be a better system. So I talked with the supplier, and we came up to something that was equivalent of what the builders put on there in the dual spring. So I want to keep something that's going to last about 8 to 10 years, so you get like a nice long span, so you don't have to keep replacing stuff over and over again. So. And
obviously a two-spring system
is ideal.
Never left and right are going to wear exactly the same amount. That's why they need to be adjusted.
Correct.
Would you also recommend that people maybe once a year, once every couple of years or something, just ask you to come out and take a look at the system, just to make sure that the drive train and everything is working properly?
This is where I get in trouble at. So people want me to sign them up for contracts, but a lot of times I just don't agree with the contract process. So what I'll do is I'll show them how to do it, and so that they can keep the maintaining and stuff up, so you don't have to just pay another bill. Right. I put the videos on there, but if there is something that's an emergency or you feel like that's really an issue, I don't mind coming out. But I just don't like charging people for stuff if you can pretty much do it yourself.
Well, that's why I say you just taught me, said get this product.
Correct.
And every few months, and I'll just check the track out.
Right.
You could also listen to it, because when you push that button for the garage door and it shudders when it's going up, then there's something that needs a little bit of attention.
Correct.
And it could be something as simple as just lubricating that track and all, because obviously it should just go up and down with ease.
Correct.
But I'm always cognizant of that garage door opener. If my house is 20 years old and you said you're usually in about an 8 to 10 year range, if you're at 20 years and your garage door is still going up and down, fine. But it's a problem that's going to happen sooner or later. And if it does shudder when you open and close it, it might be worth a call to Myron.
I was laughing when you said that, because I had a customer in Dallas, and her opener was from 1973. And she really was like, they just don't make them the way they used to. I'm like, ma'am, that opener's older than I am. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that if you do the math,
Right.
you realize that you've gotten pretty good service
got all your
out,
money
out of that one. So to invest in a new upgraded
Right.
one, have we started in garage door openers and everything now a little bit more like in the digital age, and things have been improved in that way too?
That's the thing that I like about the new one. When I moved here, they have a lot of Wi-Fi. So with the Wi-Fi, you can open and close your garage door from the app from your cell phone. They have the garage door convention coming up. I think one is in Utah and Vegas, and there's a couple of more places. I'm trying to break away so I can go see what the newest stuff is coming
there
out.
too.
Right. If I get a chance, I'm going.
Yeah.
But they're bringing up so much new stuff. I just want to stay on top of everything. Like now, a lot of people in Frisco, they have the electronic gates. So I haven't got off into the gates, but I have a real good friend that does the gates. He does it during the daytime. And he's part of that group, like I said, where they do commercial, they do gates. I do the residential, and we just help each other out. So they're pretty close to
In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that my wife and I wanted to do some landscaping in our backyard, and all, and we called you, and because you said, hey, listen, if you ever need any home improvements or something, at least just give me a call. If I know somebody, fine, and if not, that's okay
Correct.
too. And you referred somebody to us that did a great job on doing a little landscaping in the backyard.
I know who that is Austin, because I don't cut grass.
Yeah, and
So-
and that's that's the other side of Myron,
Right.
And why he's a good guy to know, because he'll call him up and just say, hey, listen, I need somebody to do some gutter work or something, and if he knows somebody, he'll give you the name because
Right.
they scratch each other's back.
Right.
And I am a proponent, always have been, always will be, of working with independent contractors rather than the big box guys, because the big box guys got to pay for all their advertising and overhead
Yes.
costs and all. The independent guy is going to tell you when he's going to be there, and he's going to keep his word. Sometimes the other major corporations don't.
And that's one of the big things here in Texas, too. It's like when stuff is growing fast real here, the bigger companies just want to buy you out to get rid of you. So I'm not going to say the names, but it was a electrical company that bought out a bigger garage door company just recently. So I'm starting to see a lot of that lately, too. They're just trying to all merge. And I
that's
guess
what
make it
some
bigger.
young entrepreneurs want to do. Build the company up, get it to a saleable state, sell it, take the money and run.
Right.
And then go on and do something else.
Right.
I was going to ask something else, and my mind just went to mush. You do residential and commercial work?
Yes, I do the light commercial, and then like I said, I got two buddies that does like all the heavy end commercial. They do like the roll up stills, they do the full glass like at the dealerships. So pretty much anything that you need, we pretty much network together, and these guys are our trust. And when I moved here, I didn't have a work van, and I met these guys, and they just kind of pulled me in, and they were delivering parts, and they just kind of looked out for me. And the same guy with the wood door. When I moved here, my supplies and resources were limited, and they didn't have to do what they did. And this is when I was just first starting out, and then I just never forgot that. So I just make sure that I repay back what they gave to me.
Now, I noticed that over the last so many couple of years, the Ring systems, the Simply Safe systems,
Yes.
and everything that will turn your lights on and off remotely, and the garage. Are you getting involved in more of that technology now too?
That's what I'm looking into right now. It's like a lot of stuff right now. It's like I'm looking for people that I trust. I have a real good friend, that's an electrician, so he's starting to do a lot of things. And man, his wife are a good friend. So we're just pretty much dealing with people that we know that we trust, and we know that they're going to keep their name and their word, and we just keep passing that work within that circle. So
Excellent. So, folks, remember this guy, Myron, the garage door guy, and all, because he'll not only help you with anything having to do with your garage door, but he can also assist you in maybe referrals to other things. For those folks that are on Nextdoor, you already know who Myron is.
Yes.
And all that, because you're the reason that a lot of people call him.
yes,
And that's important. And I can't reiterate enough that maintenance on your part is
Yes.
always a good idea.
yes,
We're getting ready to hopefully get out of this colder weather. We're going to get into the spring weather. Spring cleaning. Don't forget your garage door,
Correct.
especially the track.
Correct.
It's the most important part of it.
No
As
grease.
far as the springs, do not try and do it yourself,
Please.
because there are horror stories that you shared,
Yes.
and I would not even take a bolt wrench or anything to try and fix it myself. The track, yeah, I will pull the car out and get that track open and closing. And by the way, I think it's a good idea. Lubricate it when the door is down.
Correct.
Lubricate the track. Lubricate it when it's up.
Correct.
So that the wheels on that door and all will take full advantage of the lubrication that you're putting into the track.
Correct.
So did I talk like a professional
Yes,
there?
you did. I got a tube out in the car for you.
I did a good job. Well, Myron, thank you very, very much,
sir.
for being a
Appreciate
guest on Someone You Should Know. Folks, go to Myron the Garage Door Guy on Facebook or at yahoo.com and take advantage of a good situation. Have a great, great weekend, and we'll catch you right here again next week.
Thank you.